All right, this is our perfect scale and proportion baby jar exercise. So I am not going to speed this video up at all. This is just going to be as fast as I draw. So you can see the baby jar is over to my right. I'm using a drawing board on an easel. It's a pretty small one. Hopefully you'll have a bigger one. But you can see I'm using sighting and measuring. So I'm getting my center line of the baby jar drawn. Then I'm measuring the width, and I can see the width is a little bit less than the height. So I'm going to draw my line there. And then I'm constantly comparing. I'm always comparing my measurements, making sure they're correct. And then I'm going to draw the ellipse. So you could see I barely touched the paper. I'm making that motion, and then I drew the ellipse, and if I need to adjust it later, I can. So right now I'm just kind of getting out my scaffolding, my skeleton of my drawing first. And then I'm actually just going to draw a straight cylinder, and then I'll add the curve later. I'm going to draw the lip of the jar. And then, so I'm going to carve in the curve of the baby jar. And then I'm also going to make sure that the bottom of the jar is rounded. Remember, ellipses do not have any points. And then depending on how close you are to the jar and the perspective, your ellipse might be a little larger or smaller. It just depends on your viewpoint. So the more it's tilted towards you, the wider it's going to look. And then I'm just double checking my measurements. So now I'm going to be measuring those brushes. So I got the angle right. I'm just going to put a line there. I'm not going to try to draw the whole brush yet. So then again, I'm checking my measurements. It's 2 baby jars up. It's a little bit taller, so I just did 2 and I made a line. I'm just going to do a straight line just for that's where I'm going to place the brush once I draw the rest of it. And then I'm going to do the same thing with the other brush. And remember, I can always make adjustments. Right now I'm just trying to get the sizes correct. And then once I have that scaffold to work with, then I can worry about doing some details and things and getting things a little more accurate. But it's a process. You got to take your time, really measure, really focus on what do you see. And then now I'm going to kind of start refining. So I'm going to start doing more of the width of the brushes. And it is a jar, it is a glass, so obviously it's see-through. But sometimes there is a little bit of distortion when you're looking at something through a glass. And then I notice that the brush gets a little bit wider at the top. So I'm just going to start adding in a little bit of details. Remember, these are not highly detailed drawings. The point of this exercise is to work on our proportion and scale. So I'm just going to let myself draw, and I'll be back a little bit. All right, so now I'm kind of trying to refine the parts that go on the lid on the jar. There's some lines there that I want to add in. I'm also using a nicer drawing pencil. So make sure you have a good pencil for this. So I'm overlapping over the brush because I can see those lines over the brush. I'm taking my time. I'm really kind of focusing on what I can see. I'm sorry my hand is kind of in the way. It's a little bit awkward to video over my shoulder. So I'm just doing some of the little details of the brush right now. All right, now I'm just going in with a little bit of a darker pencil just to refine my lines. I'm looking at the shape of the ellipse, like what is that negative space, and trying to make sure it's as accurate as I can. And then just adding a little finesse. So I do like to go over with a darker drawing pencil. You don't have to, as long as your shapes and your proportions are accurate. But again, take your time. You really want to try to master this. If you can master this skill now, your drawing will get so much better, so much faster. And there's no way you can speed this up. The only way you can do this is practice, just like anything else. So the first time you make a mistake, do it again, learn from your mistakes, and just keep going. All right, some final measurements, making sure it's right. All right, so remember, you're going to do this 3 times. I cannot wait to see the difference between your first and third drawing. Good job.